Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. I did not think that I was actually going to be able to get this video out today. I got up early to be able to put this together for you, and then my computer did not work. And so I went to Walmart to get something. I went to a hockey game this morning. I'm not in my usual spot. I don't have my usual computer. I have a different microphone, but we're going to go. We're going to do this. I think it's going to work. So there's lots to get to. Let's get to it. I don't even have a preamble. I do have a preamble. Hold on. I said... Jolie's going to talk to Rubio on Wednesday. Tariffs, fallout, Greenland, and Trump. Everything is on the table, which is the rhetoric that all the Liberals are using. Team Canada approach, which again is the rhetoric all the Liberals are using, which is a joke. Trump is now making direct appeals to Canadians about his idea about how Canada should become part of the United States. So direct appeals, trying to convince Canadians that we should do that. COVID report from Alberta task force is out. Pete Hegseth, gets confirmed with Vance as a tiebreaker. There's a whole lot of things going on. There are stories that I'm working on that because I'm out of my usual element, I can't get to it and I can't give them their due. There's an ostrich farm that is calling for help, and I can't cover it the way it needs to be covered, so I'm hoping that somebody's going to pick it up, but I'm going to get back to it Monday. But there's lots to get to. Let's get to it first. We're going to talk about the tariffs, Greenland, invasion, leadership, and a whole bunch more, and I've got to do it fast. So anyway, Global News is reporting Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly will press Canada's case against damaging tariffs with new U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio in Washington next week. Why aren't they just closing the borders, stopping the drugs, and getting their heads out of their asses? Why do they have to do this and make we're an important part of your economy? Because when it gets down to it, brass tacks, no, we're not. No, we're not. And Donald Trump's going to show us that. And if he has to show us that, it's going to be painful for Canada. And then we might as well be a 51st state. They're going to lose. Everything they do that's in the wrong direction actually strengthens Donald Trump's position. So that's interesting. Bruce McGonigal says, see how prorogation works. Justin Trudeau shuts down investigations and committees asking for documents related to the corruption, but gets to keep spending our money. A great gig for Trudeau. He gets to keep living like a king. And I think that's true. I think it's true. There's absolutely no indication he's going to step down other than his promise. And since when has his word meant anything? A couple of weeks ago that he's going to step down once the Liberals choose a new leader. And listen to this. This is Karina Gould talking about this. And she's using all exactly the same buzzwords as Justin Trudeau's using. All of exactly the same phrases. Everything's on the table. Team Canada approach. So we're just going to listen to some of this. This is Vasi Kapoulas interviewing Karina Gould. And again, I don't really want to pay attention to the Liberal leadership race because these people should not be running the country. But this is the kind of rhetoric they're putting out there, unironically, thinking that, oh yeah, this new face saying all those exact same things, that's exactly what I need to hear as a Canadian. Give me a break, right? Come on. Here we go.
Tough. I've got chutzpah, and I'm very able to stand up on behalf of Canadians.
What does that mean, though? I mean, everybody's telling Canadians right now that they're going to stand up for them, and yet day in and day out, we just keep hearing about how the U.S. is planning to railroad us. Like, what does that mean in real terms? Like, what would you do to respond that is different than what we're seeing already, that doesn't appear to be working?
Well, look, I think first of all, everything has to be on the table. And I will say that, the Prime Minister and Cabinet are absolutely doing everything they can right now to have a Team Canada approach.
They just imported a bunch of people from the Gaza Strip, gave them $3,000 and said, America's that way, guys. So, no, they're not. Oh, we've got Black Hawk helicopters. Watch out for those, right? Come on.
And to respond to this potential threat of tariffs. And what I think is vitally important is that we are all on Team Canada and we are all united in this fight.
Scott Moe, not united. Danielle Smith, the energy that you want a strong arm from Ottawa, not united. So Team Canada approach, everything's on the table. Give me a break, Karina Gould. You've got no plan. You have no plan at all to respond to Donald Trump. And you're just spouting the same crap that Justin Trudeau's spouting and nobody wants to hear anymore. At all. Nobody wants to hear it. Gov.exe says, when I hear our governments shouting Team Canada, Canada first doesn't even come to mind. I think of all the attacks they've made on us over the years. Team Canada should just change their name to Team WEF. I think this is a supercut of Team Canada. So I just can't stand the Justin Trudeau, and I don't want to risk listening to him right now. So here's another one. True North is reporting there will be costs for Canadians if we move forward on tariffs to the United States, and that's why we will be there to support and compensate Canadians and Canadian businesses. Some people were speculating that this may be a push for central bank digital currency, like we're going to be strong-arming you into central bank digital currency if you don't, or using this crisis to move us from Canadian dollar currency to central bank digital currency. I don't know exactly how that would work, but people seem worried about it, so I thought I'd let you know. Once I understand the scam, I'll explain it to you. Here's Lori Goldstein. We're going to talk about Greenland and war. And remember yesterday when I mentioned that the direction of the head of the eagle was pointed towards war? This guy explains why. And yeah, obviously, I think it's quite obvious when you understand it. Lori Goldstein says, overconfident politicians and their cheerleaders who told us for years that the green shift was inevitable consistently failed to understand the possibility of a Black Swan event changing everything. Donald Trump is the Black Swan. Yes, I think that's exactly right. I think that's exactly right. Mark Emery says Doug Ford wants an election right now because Ontario is in for a rough ride with the Trump administration. Things are going to get crucial around the old corral. Canada is going to have a volatile year of upheaval. Our national deficits are really going to get revealed. And so when I talk a lot about how I think that Canada was weakened on purpose by Team Globalist. And they did that so that when they rolled out their plan, oh no, Canada's broke and the only solution is our communist central bank digital currency here. Here you go. And you don't have the economic firepower to stand up and withstand that attack. So you have to take it. Now Donald Trump has seen that weakness and he's going to say, you're not going to get forced into a central bank digital currency until I do it to the United States, right? But who knows, right? Who knows if Donald Trump's going to do that? People are speculating. But specifically, the Solari report and Catherine Austin Fitts, Donald Trump himself has signed executive orders saying no central bank digital currency, but Fitts says what he's working on with Stargate is worse. So it's up in the air. I don't know. Anyway, fundamentally, I think that they want to push us into a central bank digital currency, and they weakened our economy in order to do it. And Donald Trump is using that to his advantage, and they hate it, and they hate it. Mark Emery, upheaval a year at least, probably a little bit more. Here's this guy explaining it. I'll just explain it really quick.
Has anybody else noticed that in this recent speech, the coat of arms behind Trump, where usually the head of the eagle is facing towards the olive branch, whilst having these arrows, which means that it's capable of peace and war, but it's going to look more towards peace. The eagle in this coat of arms is looking towards the arrows, towards war. And it's damn. That's kind of settling.
Whew. Right? So the eagle as a symbol represents strength, and the way it's oriented, the way the head is indicative of the temperament of the eagle, right? And so the temperament of the eagle is oriented towards war. So what does that look like practically? Well, have I got some examples for you. Colin Rugg says Danish officials are, quote, utterly freaked out and in crisis mode after Trump told them he intended to acquire Greenland during a 45-minute call. Trump was firm in his pursuit to acquire Greenland during a call with Denmark's prime minister, according to Financial Times. 5 European officials who were briefed about the call were in shock to find that Trump is serious about acquiring Greenland. The officials hoped he was joking, or his statements were just a negotiation tactic. He's not trying to renegotiate the USMCA, everybody. He wants to buy Canada, and he's dead serious. 100% dead serious, okay? 100%. If I could say 1,000%, that's 1,000%. He's 1,000% serious. He wants to buy Canada. The officials hoped he was joking. Trump was very firm. It was a cold shower before. It was hard to take it seriously, but I do think it is serious and potentially very dangerous, one official reportedly said. The intent was very clear. They want it. The Danes are now in crisis mode. The Danes are utterly freaked out by this. It was a very tough conversation. He threatened specific measures against Denmark, such as targeted tariffs. And I've got even more color on this. Trump Vision says, the Financial Times, Donald Trump has a tense conversation with the Danish prime minister over Greenland. The head is pointed towards war, everyone. The U.S. president said he wants to seize an Arctic island. The U.S. president spoke to Mette Frederiksen, the Danish prime minister, for 45 minutes last week. She made it clear Greenland, an autonomous part of Denmark, is not for sale. Trump was aggressive and confrontational. Quote, the intention was very clear. They want this. The Danes are in crisis mode right now, said one of the people familiar with the conversation. Trump began his second term mulling potential takeovers of Greenland, the Panama Canal, and even Canada. Danes are in total shock. Trump threatened specific measures against Denmark, such as targeted tariffs. Greenland, with a population of 57,000, serves as a key access point to new shipping routes that are gradually opening up in the Arctic. President President Trump has made clear that Greenland's security is important to the United States because China and Russia are investing heavily in the Arctic region. In early January, Trump threatened to impose tariffs on Denmark if it opposed him over Greenland. He also refused to rule out the possibility of using military force to take control of the island. I'm talking about protecting our free world, he said. You have Chinese ships all over the place. You have Russian ships all over the place. We're not going to let that happen, Trump concluded. Greenland's Prime Minister Moot Egridge, I'm not very good with names, so take it with a grain of salt, has reportedly stressed that the island's residents were independent, not American or Danish, want independent, not American or Danish citizenship. Yeah, okay, so they're going to oppose China, and like once they're independent, China raises its flag? Come on, give me a break. Here is Mocha, and he says, Trump, I would love to see Canada be the 51st state. This is, so he said, listen, hey, Denmark, I'm going to blow a hole in your economy unless you give me the island of Greenland, right? I'd like it, and you're going to give it to me, whether you know it or not. And everybody's going to be happy about it when it's done, because that's just how it's going to be, I guess. That's according to Donald Trump, of course. And here's Donald Trump making a direct plea to Canadians about his idea, why don't you join the United States? Here's all the great things you'll get with membership, right? There you go. I don't know why it's not playing.
I would love to see Canada be the 51st state. The Canadian citizens, if that happened, would get a very big tax cut, tremendous tax cut, because they're very highly taxed. And you wouldn't have to worry about military. You wouldn't have to worry about many of the things. You'd have better health coverage. You'd have much better health coverage. So I think the people of Canada would like it, if it's explained.
There you go. If it's explained right. So that's interesting. So sorry if the internet's kind of hinky. It's been kind of hinky. CTV News says Trump says Canada would have much better healthcare covered as a state, and they're going to make fun of his whole thing and imply that Canadians' healthcare is free, and it's not. It's taxpayer funded, and per capita, per person, I think we pay more than the most expensive tier of healthcare in the United States, and we get much worse healthcare in exchange for that, which is not great. It's not very good at all. So here is Ian, and he says Argentina Prime Minister Javier Milei to form an alliance with President Trump, the Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, Hungary Prime Minister Viktor Orban, and others. This alliance aims to counter woke ideology and reduce government control. So that's interesting. But are they going to strengthen corporate control? Because that would be bad. That would be very bad. So I don't want to trade corrupt government for a corrupt corporatocracy. We'll just leave it there. Donald Trump says, Donald J. Trump update says, Donald Trump is signing an executive order banning Pride Month. Fingers crossed. I take that with a grain of salt. I think it's true, but I don't know. I haven't double checked because I'm busy and I'm not with my usual stuff. So it seems like it's true, though. Here's another one. Patricia says, this needs to happen in Canada, too. She's responding to Chris Rufo. He says, breaking, the Department of Education has terminated its DEI council, withdrawn its equity action plan, canceled $2.6 million in DEI training contracts, and placed all DEI staffers on leave effective immediately. They're laying siege to the institution with more to come. So yeah, Canada needs that too, right? So would we get that too? Can you send that north, everyone? Joey says Trump just pulled. Here, this made me laugh because it's very funny. Trump tells this guy, "You're doing a terrible job," and the guy says, "Yes, sir. Yes, I am, sir. You're right, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, sir. Here we go."
To relief items which will prevent it or at least mitigate it from happening again. So you're going to see us proposing both of those.
Like water. Little things like water. The party of common sense. See, we're the party of common sense. You're not, in all fairness.
Yes, sir.
We like water to put out fires. It's really quite efficient. All right.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President?
We're the party. We're the party of common sense, and you're not. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's funny. It just makes me laugh. Megan Kelly says, this is amazing. Trump, I know my people. So this is a little bit of time. And this is about Trump was touring the California wildfires yesterday. And he's now talking to Mayor Bowser. No, Mayor Bass, not Bowser. Excuse me. And he's telling her, like, you need to let those people get in and clean up their lots. You need to give them access. You need to use your emergency powers. And again, he's holding these people accountable, and he's on the side of the people saying, let them have access. He says, at the end, he doesn't want people being told by contractors, we cleaned up your lot and it's a $25,000 fee, right? Because it's all incinerated. He said, no, let them back. I know the scam, right? I understand the scam, and I'm not going to let you pull it, basically. So I'll just play about a minute of this because I'm trying to be brief today. Sorry.
You should let them do it, because by the time you hire contractors, it's going to be 2 years.
If a family...
People are willing to get a dumpster and do it themselves and clean it out.
And they can...
There's not that much left. It's all incinerated.
That's right.
And, you know, it's just going to take a long time if you do. You can do some of it, but a lot of these people... I know that guy right there that's talking. I know my people. You'll be on that thing tonight, throwing the stuff away, and your site it'll look perfect within 24 hours, and that's what he wants to do. He doesn't want to wait around for 7 months till the city hires some demolition contract, and that's going to charge him $25,000 to do his lot. I think you have emergency powers just like I do, and I'm exercising my emergency powers. You have to exercise them also.
I did exercise them.
Because you have a very powerful emergency power, and you can do everything within 24 hours.
Yes. And if individuals want to clear out their property, they can. Well, yes, but you know that you will be able to go back soon.
Mr. President.
We think within a week.
We think within a week. Very, very non-committal. Very non-committal. And then she said, you can go on your properties and clean it up. And they were like, no, we can't. And then she said, oh, you will. You will, though. No, she's just lying. Here is the invasion ongoing, and Trump is filling planes with illegals, right? ICE is doing its job. Caroline says deportation flights have begun. President Trump is sending a strong and clear message to the entire world. If you illegally enter the United States of America, you will face severe consequences. Yeah. Not surprised by this, right? Here is Caroline again. She says, thanks to President Trump, yesterday Mexico accepted a record 4 deportation flights in one day. This comes in addition to unrestricted returns at the land border, the deportation of non-Mexicans, and reinstatement of remain in Mexico. Mexico has mobilized 30,000 National Guard. And so the New York Post is reporting Mexico refuses to accept U.S. deportation flight as Trump's immigration overhaul goes into full swing. Not true. So Ferryman was talking about it this morning, and I linked him to this, and I said, no, it's not. That's not true. And he was like, he didn't respond to me. Somebody else did, though. Regardless, I think it's interesting to hear the reality of the situation. They're just trying to smear Trump about everything. So just pay attention to that kind of stuff and understand that almost everything you hear is spun on purpose. Global News is reporting Canada has a limited capacity to welcome people looking to resettle, the immigration minister said amid Trump's border crackdown. So we can't take any Americans, or we can't take anybody who's fleeing America, which I guess is a good message to send. I'm all for that. But why can we take Gazans, and why are we giving them money? How does that make any kind of sense? It doesn't really make any sense to me. So I think that's weird, and it's something that I don't think we should do. So and I think our entire government is working against Canadians in a very active way, and that's very disappointing for me, because I feel like we could be a really, really solid country like we used to be, and we could be again, and we're not on a path to that. Unless the only path to that we have, and it's closing by the day for other options, is to join the United States. Like, honestly, I think that unfortunately our finances have been so mismanaged that we don't have a lot of choice. Either there's going to be economic pain, or we listen and do what Trump says. And I'm not really even advocating for it. I just think that's the reality of the situation. I don't think it matters what we think. I think that is just where we're at. You know, it's like looking at a snooker table, understanding the game, and being upset about it. It's like you can be upset about it, but that's the reality of the game. That's where we're at. So anyway, here is Greg, and he's responding to Michelle Rempel, and Rempel's highlighting the fact that Mark Carney doesn't have a YouTube channel. So it's not because they took it from him. It's because he's lazy. Central banker. He's busy doing central banker work. So, I mean, take for that what it is, I guess. But Greg is responding, and he says, the Conservative Party of Canada is grasping at straws trying to make Carney look bad. The CPC never mentions the political prisoners from the trucker convoy. YouTubers recognize these patriots as Canadians most persecuted by the Trudeau government, yet Michelle and friends act like they don't even exist. Yeah, it's interesting to see how we've got a situation where the Conservative Party is lobbing weak attacks against Mark Carney because the strong attacks also kind of apply to them. You know what I mean? Like, they're insiders, they're doing the 2030 agenda. There's a lot of things that if it was Donald Trump, do you think he'd have a lot of ammunition to attack the governing party who's on the way out? Yeah, but it doesn't sound like it doesn't feel like we're hearing much of it from Pierre Poilievre or his leaders. The Liberals are trying to get interest in their party, and they're throwing everything at the wall. And I saw a video with this woman I think this is an AI render of her, maybe. But she doesn't look like that on the video. Brampton says, former Brampton MP Ruby Dalla plans to run in Liberal leadership race. And so, yeah, it was an interesting, I think the video is maybe embedded on here, but that's an ad. Fundamentally, they're trying to entice people to talk about the Liberal leadership race in a way that isn't talking about the Liberals in the past tense. That's what this is about. And I mean, the Liberals have sold Canada out, and I've done an entire show about that, so I'm not going to rehash it, but I don't think anybody wants them to continue running things because they're WEF acolytes. They're running things on behalf of puppeteers who are not Canadian, and they don't listen. There's no accountability. They don't listen to Canadians. There's no accountability, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't care who the leader is. Get them out of there. They're all as bad as each other. Mackenzie Gray says Mark Carney and a bunch of MPs endorsing him had a press conference scheduled for today at 8 a.m. on Parliament Hill, 8:30 a.m. excuse me, but it was canceled late tonight. So whatever they had to say wasn't important, I guess. Andrew is responding to himself, and he says, guess who's hosting Mark Carney in Montreal at a private reception for wealthy donors? Former Liberal Party President Anna Gainey. That's right, the MP with links to China's United Front and the person who reformed the Liberal Party's constitution so that any 14-year-old non-citizen could sign up for free and vote for the leader. So he's an insider's insider. He's got a thumb, and he's putting it on the scale, and everybody's cheering it on. Bravo, sir. Thank you so much for all your help. Here's the Ostrich farm. And I've reached out to this person, the email address here, and I got a response with an email or with something else to complain about their processes. And I said, this wasn't sent to complain. This was sent as an interview request. But anyway, here's the Ostrich farm, and Odessa's covering this better than I am. She says, new post, I had to correct the email address. Breaking news, the animal massacre plot thickens in Canada in a really dark way. Please share this widely. I just got off the phone with Katie, who said this morning that the lower down people at CFIA visited Katie's ostrich farm and said to her out loud that none of her ostriches were sick, no bird flu, and that her farm was following protocol for cleanliness perfectly. Apparently she recorded this via video. I'm waiting for it. Now, according to Katie, she was just told by upper government decision makers that they are coming for her bird flu antibodies and her COVID-19 antibodies, and they will be taking everything from her house as well that they think is ostrich related. Her house is not on the same land and has a different address. A lower down source who works for CFIA has leaked to a couple of us that the alleged decision makers of this nonsensical agenda-ridden cull is Operation Chief Commander Connie Fotheringham. Getting it wrong. The person I got the email address from said, send her a lot of emails. It is the opinion of Katie that something much bigger is going on here. The culling of these ostriches is still planned for February 1st, 25, and allegedly the same with an inspection of a private residence for any possible ostrich items. Welcome to the WHO's One World Health, New World Order. So yeah, scary stuff. Link is in the description, hopefully. But very, very concerning. Very concerning if you ask me. Here is the New Right, and they're reporting, they're talking about Maxime Bernier. Maxime Bernier is highlighting that the CPC under Pierre Poilievre that a conservative government will not withdraw from the Paris Accords. They will not pull out of the WHO. They will not make changes to the equalization program. The PPC will be there when you're ready, he says. So, yeah, it's interesting. The election is heating up-ish, but also it seems like the Liberals are still very much in charge, and we're not going to get an election until October, maybe, after Mark Carney's established himself and been able to campaign on the government money. Pierre says, I just received a federal election poll robocall, and the options were 3 for Liberal, 4 for NDP, 5 for Conservative, 6 for Green, 7 for undecided. It didn't have other as an option. The debate commission is stacking the deck in order to exclude Maxime Bernier from the debates. Yes, that's happening. Laurie Goldstein says, my latest column, Parliamentary Budget Officer blasts reckless Trudeau government spending. Scathing report makes clear why re-electing the Liberals is the looming federal election would be a financial disaster for taxpayers. So yeah, re-electing the Liberals would be a terrible idea. Just a terrible idea. Here is gov.exe, and this is a bit of the leadership stuff. I guess it should have been over here. But Instead of arguing over which party should form government, we should be arguing over why we need a federal government at all. Roughly 25% of average Canadian income goes directly to Ottawa. For what? Our borders are garbage, our military sucks, and they trample our charter rights. Yeah, they're doing a terrible job, and we should probably completely defund it. Totally, 100%. Tammy says, the fake news is already lying about our successful partnership with Mexico, helping to make our region safe again. The truth is, 4 ICE flights arrived in Mexico yesterday. 2 military flights were sent to Guatemala because they were filled with Guatemalans. 2,000 aliens were deported to Mexico yesterday alone by land and air, and as Remain in Mexico was re-implemented. Promises made, promises kept. So Donald Trump is doing that. That should have been an invasion as well. So sometimes I double up, and I was rushing this morning, so sorry. Speaking of rushing, Vladimir Putin is saying that if the 2020 U.S. presidency wasn't stolen from Donald Trump, the Ukrainian crisis would never have happened. I think that he's correct. 16 seconds, but I don't have time this morning, so we're going to keep going. Our SBN says Pete Hegeseth. I'm saying his name wrong, I think, but I'm going to keep going anyway because that's just what's happening. He reaches 50 votes in the Senate and will be confirmed as the next U.S. Secretary of Defense with ties to be broken by VP Vance. And he did break the tie. He became confirmed. Right Blend says he has been confirmed as U.S. Defense Secretary after Vice President Vance cast the tie-breaking vote. 3 Republican rhinos voted against him: Mitch McConnell, Susan Collins, and Lisa Murkowski. Hegeseth is a U.S. combat veteran. Having served in Iraq and Afghanistan, he promises to bring a warrior culture to the Pentagon, and he's off to a great start. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And Trump said he will be signing executive orders to possibly get rid of FEMA. FEMA has turned out to be a disaster, so he's gonna get rid of it as well. Back home, there was an Alberta COVID report, and it's come out. I haven't read the report yet, but people who have read the report say you have to read this report. So I'm gonna read it. I think I'm gonna try to. And Dr. Kulvinder Kaur says, released today, 269-page final report by the Alberta COVID-19 Pandemic Data Review Task Force on Alberta's COVID-19 pandemic response. This review might be one of few being conducted by Canada's provinces. It examines the quality, use, interpretation, and flow of information and data that informed Alberta's pandemic response to COVID-19. The document presents a blueprint around key public health questions for a formal COVID-19 inquiry. In separate chapters, we summarize key background information on governance of information and how it was passed to decision makers. We pose specific questions about failures to protect high-risk Albertans, non-pharmaceutical interventions, including their collateral harms, misleading risk communications, downplaying infection, acquired immunity, masks, testing, vaccine effectiveness and safety, therapeutics, and epidemiological modeling. While this report does not attempt to explicitly analyze why decision makers were willing to accept the possibility of greater societal harm over the proclaimed benefits against COVID-19, the question will manifest throughout this text. So, why were they crazy? And what did they get from it? Globe and Mail is reporting Alberta Task Force recommends halt of COVID-19 vaccines in new report. Yay! That's wonderful. And Ryan says, I, along with countless of other Canadians, lost their jobs, weren't allowed to visit dying loved ones, were banned from everyday life and banned from airplanes and travel for not taking this poison. I want answers and accountability. Jail time. I want jail time. 100%. This is just a thing that I'm going to watch. It's 6 minutes. Apparently it's Knights Templar became Freemasons. I don't know about that. I think Freemasonry has its roots in something else, but I haven't watched the video yet. So it's on CanadaReport.co if you're interested in checking that out. And I'm sorry, I know it's a short show today. I understand that, and it wouldn't be if I wasn't at home. If I was at home, and it also wouldn't be if I was able to do my show this morning when I usually do it. So although I did all the links here, so. I don't know, maybe I just didn't have as much time yesterday. Anyway, it's been fun. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for your support. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. I'm glad I was able to get the show out.